Greetings, newcomers. Today, we're taking a field trip. Under normal circumstances, we would walk there. It would be a good opportunity for you to show me how much your stamina has improved. However, this lesson is not about solving a problem with violence. Graduates from Belldanare Academy must be unmatched in direct combat, of course, but there is something far more important than that. Today, it is about maintaining and respecting the delicate balance. Prepare for a nature walk like none other. I'm sure you have heard of the Zahrrenfalls, and I'm also sure you have heard tales of them luring outsiders to an untimely demise and turning them into monstrous beings. Perhaps you grew up with someone telling you not to venture too far into the forest, because the Zahrrenfalls lurk deep within. It is easy to fear something you only experience through legends and myths. Many people refuse to enter any forest because of this intense and primal fear. Unfortunately, when people fear something, they enjoy adding fuel to the fire through anecdotal evidence and their own imagination. You see, fear often makes us ignore the obvious. The objective no longer becomes finding the truth. It becomes a contest of how deeply one can bury themselves in a delusion. Can the Zahrrenfalls be violent and scary? Absolutely. Anyone can. But we must not allow ourselves to be blinded to possibility. It all started with little Tolliokk. You see, little Tolliokk was a truly unique being. It is said he grew from the very first Argalian oak tree thousands of years ago. They were trees that were worth their weight in gold. The Argalian fruits were rumored to cure any ailment. During the famous war for the deep trench door, the Alkina soldiers suffered many losses from infection. The invaders, known as the Ashtatomf, used special weapons that drastically lowered their enemies' antibodies. The two greatest superpowers beneath the sea fought for the deep trench door, for anyone who could make it through would be granted a single wish. After almost 80 years of fighting, the Alkina, on the verge of extinction, prayed to their goddess, Velosdian. As if she had answered their pleas, a single golden fruit that glowed and sang like an angelic choir fell into the water and sank to the deepest depths. The Alkina found this magical fruit and used it to treat their wounded. Their recovery was nothing short of a miracle. The only problem was they had to extract the juice quickly. because it did not last very long. The juice would lose its potency in less than a day, which meant to stay in the fight, they would need more fruit. The Alkena read the currents and determined where the fruit must have come from. They realized the fruit grew on land, which made them nervous. The Alkena were not well versed in anything on the surface, but they had to make a choice: face the unknown and find the fruits their goddess sent them, or allow more of their people to succumb to the Ashtatomf. I'm sure you can imagine what they decided. The Alkena took everything. Every scrap, every piece, and every fragment. They even took little Tolliokk himself, for he glowed just like the other fruit. They extracted everything they could and realized Tolliokk was different. The substance flowing through him did not expire, and he healed faster than anyone had seen. "Lock him up," the Alkena general yelled. "He stays with us. With him, we will win this war." Little Tolliokk was a fighter, but he was no warrior. The war raged on, and the Alkena's demands only grew. More wounded would show up and be back on the battlefield in a matter of minutes, thanks to little Tolliokk. One day, little Tolliokk found a seed on the ground, forgotten and discarded. A little lost soul that could never rest. "Why have you done this?" he asked one day. "We will do whatever it takes to win this war," the general replied. "We will save our people." "You will save your people at the cost of mine?" Tolliokk asked. The general looked confused by the question. "I will do whatever it takes." Whatever it takes. Those words rang inside little Tolliokk's mind. Whatever it takes. What did he do? He didn't fight, or kick, or scream. Tolliokk did something much harder. Something even the most skilled and experienced warriors struggle to do. He waited. You see, newcomers, the golden fruit was capable of a lot of things. It could heal, but what might be medicine to one can be poison to something else. As the war raged on, what was once an advantage became a crutch, and then an obsession. The Alkena became something else, something monstrous. They lost themselves, and their sentience melted away, and soon their bodies did as well. Little Tolliokk and the little lost soul saw less and less of the Alkena, and then one day there was none left. The only thing left to keep them company was the sound of the underwater currents. Together, the little ones left their prison and found an empty battlefield that stretched far across the ocean floor. The Alkena and the Ashtatomf were all gone. The only ones left were known as the remaining ones. They were the outsiders, not Alkenas nor Ashtatomf. They were loyal to no one except themselves. Monsters, scavengers, beasts, and everything in between scrounged and scraped the ruined civilization, but never made a new one. The little ones spent many years wandering, for their home was destroyed, and it would have remained that way were it not for those words, whatever it takes. Wandering became searching. What was once aimless became a quest. Although the war was over, the little ones still faced many dangers. During their search, they learned. The remaining ones had the luxury to explore freely, and they knew many things about this strange world little Tolliokk and the little lost soul found themselves in. They absorbed all of this information, some through conversation, some through battle, some through investigation, and eventually they learned the location of the deep sea door. The little ones found it completely undefended and with no one around. Why weren't the remaining ones fighting for this door, just like the Alkinas and the Ashtatomf? They entered and was greeted by a tiny flame, a truly impossible sight. "I have come to make a wish," little Tolliokk said. "There is no wish," the flame spoke, "only a deal." Little Tolliokk leaned forward. "My people are gone. We are all that's left. Please, bring my people back." The flame merely scoffed. "Oh, little Tolliokk, that is something you can't afford. I can only give you what you give me in return. Everything has a price." That did not faze little Tolliokk. "You'll get me," he said. "Help my people. I will give you my life. So please, do the most you can with it." The flame flickered. "Why?" Little Tolliokk stood tall. "I have to do whatever it takes." The flame consumed him, and the little lost soul flew into the sky. The forest the Alkinas ruined stirred, and then stood. The trees lost their golden fruit long ago, but each one gained something far more valuable. They all stood as tall as little Tolliokk stood that day. Ever since the little lost soul flew into the sky, all Zahrrenfalls have an extensive knowledge of astronomy. They take great pride in learning about the cosmos, and many factions believe that one day they will reach a level of knowledge that will allow them to reach the little lost soul, to bring him home. Knowledge is passed down from parent to child, and every Zahrrenfall is expected to contribute to the field of study, be it through making a new discovery or inventing a new piece of equipment that makes their job easier. It is common to find abandoned tools deep within the forest or even on the outskirts. Perhaps it is no surprise that they are all made of bark. Sometimes they are made of sticks and branches intricately woven together. One of the most famous pieces of abandoned equipment would be the Veritel telescope. It would have taken months, perhaps even years to build. The Zahrrenfalls are clearly capable of great coordination and planning. Something to note, this telescope, and all other smaller telescopes, have all been found without lenses. The Zahrrenfalls might simply have a different sort of eyesight, or the theory I have is that to them, lenses are extremely valuable, and they would never allow one to be found. Many centuries ago, a meteorite was predicted to strike the planet. It was said to land in the middle of what is now known today as the Altavagreen Forest. The neighboring cities and settlements were evacuated, and after the meteorite landed, it created a crater that was roughly 120 miles wide. Afterwards, the citizens came back to investigate the extent of the destruction and realized the forest had disappeared. There was no debris left behind whatsoever, not even a single leaf. People did not know how to explain it, but the truth was quite simple. The forest had simply moved to a different location, which was later found 700 miles to the east. When the ground had been studied, it was determined that the forest had moved days prior to the event. Not only did the Zahrrenfalls know about the meteorite before the scholars did, they knew how large the crater would be and where exactly to go to avoid any fallout. What is even more remarkable is that no one noticed until after the fact. Was it magic? Was it science? Whatever it was, it is clear the Zahrrenfalls have access to resources that are a mystery to us. Very little is known about their day-to-day lives, and as you might have guessed, they are very wary of outsiders. I have a feeling they seclude themselves because of what the Alkenas did to their ancestors so long ago. The only thing they need as a reminder is to simply look up at the stars, which is something they do quite frequently. As previously mentioned, the Zahrrenfalls have access to a special power we cannot describe, or even be certain that it exists at all. It is likely that they are guarding something, and when you hold something valuable, it is only natural that others will want to take it. One of the most admirable traits of the Zahrrenfalls is their ability to not only maintain, but re-establish an equilibrium. The relocation of the Altavagreen Forest is proof that they understand nature better than we ever will. The flora and fauna indigenous to the forest's original location had no trouble thriving in their new location, despite the fact that the terrain, climate, air quality, and even the soil's chemical content were all completely different. The forest lived on anyways. They take great pride in taking care of their home, and also take great pride in defending it. There have been several accounts from people claiming to have met a Zahrrenfall. Many claim they will help people who are lost, provide food and shelter to the stranded, and even offer advice to the confused. Castan Shah, the warrior who led the Ganazosh rebellion, fought with a wooden sword that could supposedly cut through metal. Mockery and ridicule for refusing to carry a conventional weapon quickly became respect, as the wooden sword held substantial power. It could make crops grow and wither away. It could change the mineral content of the ground, the water quality of lakes, and perhaps most notably, redirect sunlight on a grand scale. One well-known fact about Castan Shah was that he spent a significant amount of time in the wilderness, which is why so little is known about his life, apart from the battles he fought in. After he passed on from this world, his sword mysteriously vanished, and no records of it have shown up since. Another famous incident occurred relatively recently, about a century and a half ago. There lived a young princess who had a penchant for wandering where she was never meant to go, despite the protests of her parents. Sometimes plant life can be just as deadly as wild animals, and the young princess found this out the hard way. She ventured a bit too close to the Ruger shot, one of the many plants known for its carnivorous diet and, well, the little princess returned with a slightly different look, with one wooden appendage. Could this be the work of a Zahrrenfall, or was it simply the imagination of a child trying to make sense of a situation she did not understand? There are many records, however, of trees that look strange because they share an uncanny resemblance to certain people after they disappeared. Many seek out the Zahrrenfalls for answers, thinking their knowledge of the infinite and grand cosmos will help them in their endeavors. Some speculate whether or not this is a punishment or a blessing. How far would you go to extend your lifespan? Become immune to any disease? Enter a form where money has no meaning? Become more powerful than you have ever been and become a part of nature itself? What is a greater gift than that? Although one must remember the words of the flame from the door, everything has a price. Whether or not these stories are true, however, is of course entirely up to you. If you encounter a Zahrrenfall, then I advise you to be calm and respectful. Remember that they are thinking and speaking beings. They are very introverted and slow to trust. They would prefer it if you did not speak to them. I have a feeling many of you can relate to that. Remember, you are in their domain, and you have lasted this long because they have allowed it. Do not approach. Do not try to hide. Do not attack, and do not give them a reason to attack. You never know what, or more importantly, who they are protecting. Remember what I said. This is about maintaining balance, and using violence against them will not solve anything. We are already so disconnected. Belldanare graduates are more than soldiers. They think before they act. And while they know how to use a sword, they know when to keep it in its scabbard, which is much more valuable. We must work together to heal the rift between people and nature. The Zahrrenfalls are just as uneasy about us as we are about them. We must treat the unknown with open-mindedness and not primal fear. Assume nothing. Investigate everything. Belldanare Academy will teach you all to think, and we will achieve our goal not through the use of swords and reacting on an impulse, but through a mutual understanding, which admittedly is a much harder path. One that is sometimes impossible, but the harder path will lead to a greater outcome, and what outcome is greater than peace?